How do you help your teenage daughter end a toxic relationship? You've set boundaries, but to end relationships takes a toll on their hearts, and their hearts are even broken. Maybe your girl keeps trying to hold on to these relationships, but you know it's not a good friendship. Today, I share 4 tips on how to help your daughter create boundaries around unhealthy relationships. Hey mama, welcome to Raising Her Confidently. Do you want to have open communication with your teen daughter? Do you find yourself constantly thinking about how to talk to your teen or why your girl is not opening up to you? Do you wake up with confident intentions only to feel confused and frustrated when all you get are one-word answers from your daughter again? Hey, I'm Jeannie. I too was a mom raising young teens. I too felt grieved by the loss of my sweet, talkative little girl. I wanted her to come to me about anything, even if she was scared, and listen to my advice. But I kept thinking, she won't listen to me, and I don't know how to approach her until I found tools to create open communication. In this podcast, you will find how to connect and talk to your teen and create a safe space for her to go to so that you will have that close relationship you dreamed of. Go grab your glass of Merlot and throw off those fuzzy slippers, and let's dig in together. I know you are frustrated and confused about how to even approach your girl without having any backlash or somehow causing any offense to her. You simply want to know more about her because for some reason you don't feel as connected to her anymore. She talks less, not like how she used to. You just wish things were different between the two of you. You want to know whether or not things are going okay with her, but she just won't share with you. I want you to know that there is still hope. I want you to stop feeling frustrated with your current situation, and I want you to start equipping yourself with solutions to help you reconnect with your teenage daughter. And I'm going to help you. I'm going to walk side by side with you to help you understand the changes happening to your girl, how you, mama, can shift your role in this season, and how your relationship with your girl will flourish again by creating a space where she'll come to you and talk to you. So what I want you to do, mama, is I want you to head on over to raisingherconfidently.com, where you can book a one-on-one mom mentoring call with me. Yes, it's one-on-one, private, and you and I get to talk about the immediate needs and concerns you are having with your girl right now. And you will walk away with a customized communication plan that you can implement and be confident in. So go to raisingherconfidently.com and book your call with me. Okay, mama, this topic I believe is so important nowadays because I think one thing that I know growing up I lacked was being able to create boundaries. Boundaries and identifying what is unhealthy for me because there was a lack of boundaries created in my life. And I believe I'm an expert at talking about toxic relationships, having had a boyfriend at 13 who was a gang member. My gosh. Now, I know this is something my mom definitely didn't want. 1, I wasn't allowed to be dating at 13. And 2, the boy I chose to be my first boyfriend was a member of a gang in our neighborhood. During that time, didn't realize the type of relationship I was in. It was my first experience of having a boyfriend and being so, in air quotes, in love with this person, not realizing that his behavior, the way he treated me, was actually unhealthy. And his lifestyle was actually unhealthy and not something that my mom ever desired for me, nor should I desire for myself. And it revealed a lot about who I was and what I desperately needed. My daughter as well had a toxic relationship with a friend. And this relationship started very well, very loving, spent lots of time together. But unfortunately, 2 people being imperfect, it started to turn for the worst, right? I share these 2 stories because, mama, I want you to understand that toxic relationships happen. And they can happen out of the blue. They can happen straightforward, like in my relationship. The big red flag should have been, he's a gang member, right? But for my daughter, it came out of nowhere. It became this friendship that turned into a very unhealthy one. So regardless of the angles that we are coming from, toxic relationships can happen. But what can we do to help our daughters when they find themselves in the middle of one? Let go, right? How can we help them develop these boundaries to actually recognize and know when to call it quits in a relationship? Today, I'm going to share 4 ways, Mama, that you can help her end toxic relationships. First, if you notice a change in her behavior, a change in the relationship, you start to notice that maybe your daughter doesn't want to hang out as much with this person, or is trying to avoid this person, or gets super emotional when around this person, or just hanging out with this person, and then you notice an emotional drainage out of her, right? Then maybe it's time to do a heart-to-heart talk with her, right? With my daughter, I noticed a drastic change in her attitude and her demeanor after hanging out with her friend. So it was time for me. And this took observation and knowing my daughter really well and observing her relationships that she has invested in, right? So we had a heart-to-heart talk. I approached her. She wasn't going to approach me. I had to approach her during a moment, and it was actually at bedtime. Had a heart-to-heart talk and asked her what was going on. Allowing her that safe space to be quiet, to be okay if it took multiple times for me to ask the question and dig a little deeper and slowly unpeel the onion of what was happening in this relationship. And that took patience on my half to create the safe space to understand what was truly going on. And this took several conversations. It wasn't just one heart-to-heart talk, right? It had to start with me approaching her. One, first noticing that there was a change in her demeanor and her relationship. And 2, approaching her and asking her the question, hey, what's going on? Creating that safe space and being okay to get them in pieces if she's not ready to reveal the whole thing, right? In my course, we teach about how exactly we can approach our daughter, what types of questions we can ask, how to read our daughter, how to create that safe space. This is what I teach moms, to be able to do that in order to have those heart-to-heart talks and really find out what's going on. Number 2, find out what your girl values most. Find out what your girl values most. What is her core value? What are the things that you've taught her in her childhood that she's carried on? What does she value? Not what does her friend value, not what other people value, not even what you value more. What does she value? Does she value friendship that is loyal? Does she value self-respect? Does she value integrity? What does she value? Because you want to get her back to her, what she values most. What does she look for in friendships and in relationships? What does she consider a good friendship? What does she consider a good relationship? Because when we get back to the root of what she desires, it helps filter out some of the toxicity, the unhealthy behaviors that are happening in her relationships, right? It opens her eyes to that. So find out what your girl values most. Third, teach her how to guard her heart using the values that you have discussed with her, what she values most, what she values in her relationships. Mama, you need to create the boundary for her. If it is determined that this relationship is indeed unhealthy and toxic, you create the boundary for her. Guide her into not hanging out with this person. Guide her in giving space in this relationship to allow her some time to remove herself so that she's not basing her decisions on her emotions, but is allowed that space and time to think what she values most and how this relationship is affecting that. Create the boundary for her by asking her to give her some space from this relationship, by telling her this is probably not a good idea to have contact with this person for a week. Give her a week. Don't talk to her for a week. Give some space. Don't talk to him for a week. Give some space, because you are teaching her what it's like to love from a distance. We're called to love people, but we're not called to be a martyr. So you are showing her what it is to love from a distance, because not all good people are going to be her people. Not all good people are going to be her people, and that is okay. You are also teaching her that it is risky to create healthy boundaries for herself. She will be judged. She will be challenged. But by creating these healthy boundaries, because Mama, you get to help her with that, you are helping her create a healthy perspective about herself. You are helping her create her worth and around relationships. So guarding her heart means creating the boundary for her and guiding her to create more of these boundaries for herself based on what she values most. Remember, not all people are going to be her people, and that is okay. If that has been crossed, then we know we've already come into some unhealthy relationships, and it helps your girl end and make that decision to confidently end that relationship, right? So how do we help her do that? Go back to what she values most. Go back to what she values most and assure her it's okay for her to value that. That it's okay for her to value that even over that person. That's how we keep our relationships healthy. And that's how she's able to measure whether or not this is a toxic relationship and whether it needs to end. And yes, it's going to be hard. And yes, she's going to have to say no when she really wants to say yes, because she cannot compromise her own value, right? And that's where we need to continue to help her through it. And number 4, Mama, you need to find support to help her be guided. So for my daughter going through ending this friendship because it just became too toxic for both of them, she had a mentor in her life who was college age, way cooler than Mom, right? And I'm okay with that. That's another thing, Mama, is be okay not being the cool person in her life. But she has a college friend, mentor, who actually is somebody I purposely and intentionally have connection and relationship with, because I know she also has a connection with my daughter. And so wise and so important to be able to make those connections. She was the mediator between their friendship. She was the one that gave advice. My daughter was the one that would, what should I do with this? This mentor, this college student, was able to walk her through and comfort her in ending this relationship in a loving way. And I was able to witness that, right? She was able to mediate it. How do I know all this? Because the communication was open. The communication was open between me and her mentor, and the communication was open between me and my daughter. And I was okay with giving her permission for those two to work out this toxic relationship and how they can end it, right? When I say these two, her mentor and my daughter, to be able to do it without me and be okay with that. Because really, it's about your daughter and her well-being and how I maintain my relationship by not necessarily always being the mediator, but being the listening ear and knowing what's going on, and that she was willing to share that with me, okay? And that she was very clear that she knew that me and her mentor talked. But there are some things that her mentor respected that my daughter didn't want her to share with me, which was completely fine, because she needs to have people in her life that she can console with, that she can confide in, and be able to trust that person. And this happened to be this college mentor. I'm going to add a bonus one in here because I feel this is important too, is hold her accountable to her boundaries. Check in every now and then. Is she giving space, or has she made contact with this person that is unhealthy for her? Hold her accountable, check in on her, and even question, why do you feel it's important for you to make contact with this person? What is it that you are allowing into your life, and does that make you a better person, or does it bring you down? Right? Those are simple questions she can judge for herself. Does this friendship or does this relationship make you a better person, or is it bringing you down? So hold her accountable to her boundaries. So mama, there you have it. Help your daughter end these toxic relationships. First, find out what's going on. 2, find out what your girl values most. Reset her perspective. 3, teaching her to guard her heart. And 4, find support. Which of these do you need to put together and help your daughter put together for herself? Which of these do you need to guide her through? Now, if you need help with some of these questions, this is something that I teach and walk moms through. I am happy to have a discovery call with you, which could lead to a mom mentoring call, whatever it may be. I am here to help you, mama. I would love for you to go to raisingherconfidently.com, where you can book a free 15-minute discovery call where we can clarify what exactly you need to help your daughter end a toxic relationship. And 2, how you can implement some of these tactical tools by creating a safe space, or how exactly do we ask the right type of questions where she's not building this wall and running to that toxic relationship, because that's exactly what we want to do, is help her end it and create healthy boundaries. And I'm happy to walk along with you as you guide your girl through this type of situation. So go to raisingherconfidently.com and we'll talk soon. Hey friend, if this podcast inspired you or encouraged you or helped you in any way, I'd love for you to share it. You can screenshot this episode and share it in your stories on social media, or text it to a friend who can use the support. It's the best way you can thank me. I want to let other mamas know they are not alone. I'd love to stay connected with you. You can find me on Instagram at Jeannie Baldemero, or join my free mom support community at linktree.com/Jeannie Baldemero. Until next time, live full of grace, Jeannie.